Welcome, everybody, to the Neuro Masters show, where we uncover the transformative powers of the mind. I'm Reg Malhotra, your host, and I'm here to guide you with practical tools and inspiring stories grounded in neuro-linguistic programming and hypnosis. Now, whether you're a high achiever feeling stuck or a growth seeker looking to overcome setbacks, join us each week to break through barriers and achieve profound personal and professional growth. So let's dive in and unlock your potential.
Hello and welcome back to the Neuro Masters Podcast. And today we are tackling a big one. It's positive thinking. And I know you might be listening and thinking, what could be wrong with positive thinking? Everyone's heard, just think positive. That's advice we've all been given. But does it really work? Or is it just another Band-Aid over a deeper emotional block? Today I'm joined with Reg Malhotra, who is here to break it down for us. Thank you, Reg, for being here.
Great to be here and great to be talking about this topic.
You know, I want to open it up by really talking about positive thinking as a type of trap, because you've said before that positive thinking can be a type of trap. What do you mean by that?
Yeah, great question. So, I want to start by saying this. In general, it is better to be positively focused. It's better to be forward thinking. It's better to see the good and bad. It's better to look for what's right rather than what's wrong. So I want to start by saying that, right? If all of that encapsulates to be positive thinking, well then, broadly speaking, it's better to be a positively oriented person than a negatively oriented person, right? So we got to look at it both in relativity. So a person who's constantly negative and who's developed a pattern of being negative, it's probably going to end up with worse problems than someone who's positive. Having said all of that, the reason why we say positive thinking in itself can be a trap is particularly if a person has got unresolved matters. They have inner conflicts. They have incidents or events from the past or through relationships or through work that they haven't really got peace on. Then it's like positive thinking is like putting a little band-aid while the wound is still there. And some of the top reasons why positive thinking can become a trap, includes bearing down emotions. You see, it's very important for us to feel a whole range of emotions, for us to acknowledge and feel them. So someone who is, positively thinking because they think it's better to be positive all the time about everything could be, number one, bearing certain emotions, could be avoiding real matters and real risks, right? Could even cause annoyance and, problems for other people, especially those who are struggling, and they could see that as inability from the positive thinker to empathize. So there's a lot of things that are related to that. It's, again, I say it's better to be a positively oriented person, but if you haven't really looked within, haven't done the inner work, haven't gotten resolution on certain matters, then it could almost feel fraudulent.
Yeah, I think that is a key point, is that often maybe it feels inauthentic to someone who's really struggling. And I imagine there are people who have been told to think positively or maybe repeat affirmations. Why is it that just surface affirmations don't necessarily work if you have something going on deeper?
Again, it's if our words create a reality. They don't just describe a reality, they create a reality. So the principle is sound. Principle is quite sound with affirmations or saying things how you want it. In our field, we talk a lot about say it how you want it. Why would you say it any other way if words create a reality? So affirmations are, again, I will start the same way. It's better to have positive affirmations than running the whole day saying everything's going to go wrong. It's not going to work out for me. My problems are special. Nobody wants to talk to me. Nobody wants to help me. It's a dog eat dog world. That's going to have a very, very negative impact over a period of time. And affirmations for the person who has, accepted certain things about themselves, about their past, about their life, will have a largely positive impact. And again, if we are just doing affirmations while we are in, while we're avoiding feeling emotions, while we're avoiding tackling real issues, setting boundaries, it goes back to the whole thing, Jim. I think we discussed it in an episode. Let's look at the word nice. Right? Everyone seems to have a very, kind of one size fits all definition of nice. So that's a nice person, typically connected with something, a polite action, right? That's typically called, that's a nice person. If someone is polite in their speech or their behavior, or they do with something we want them to do, they will fall into the bucket of nice. But I mean, I argue, what is nice? Is it nice if you don't set your boundary? Is it nice if you don't let the other person know what is a limit for you, what is a boundary for you? Is it truly nice because you're leading them on, only to one day react yourself? So again, nice is subjective. Same way, positive thinking, I would argue, could be seen as a subjective thing, right? Some things that sound negative may be positive in its potential outcome for the person. Positive thinking is also about accepting that as I pursue this goal, this path, this vision, this idea, that I'm positive that I'll be able to handle it. I'm positive that I will get the results I want. I'd rather move with a positive frame of mind.
Yeah.
But what you want to do at the same time is to acknowledge the difficulties, the hurdles, the obstacles that are going to come along, that are going to knock you around, right? Now, that's not necessarily unpositive thinking. That's saying, we human beings, we have a disposition to only see the upside to everything. We just don't want to acknowledge the downside. Like, I call this a fantasy lock. The universe has an interesting way of causing equilibrium. You think about anything that you think will, when I get this, when I do this, it'll be amazing. But we never even stop to consider some of the potential downfall, the downsides, the problems that could come with it. And I think that's all related to this idea of positive thinking. Think positively. At the same time, don't get trapped. Don't get surprised. Don't get shocked. One of the things I always say to my students is the degree to which you'll experience genuine success and fulfillment does come down to the degree to which you can be shocked or surprised. I mean, you look at the world we live in today. If you're someone who's getting shocked and surprised and outraged, you're going to have a very difficult time.
Yeah.
No matter how positive you remain.
There seems to be a difference between someone who is maybe forcing positivity, just trying to convince themselves that things are going well, and true inner transformation so that things become positive. Can you talk a little bit about the difference between those two ideas?
Yes, certainly. So there's quite a big difference. I think the person who's forcing it, again, I'll say, it's better than putting in that effort than, be unhinged on the negativity. But if you're constantly forcing it, it's going to become, anything you force, it becomes exhaustive, right? It's going to feel like exhaustion. You will look at the proof in your physical environment, doesn't match what you're saying. So I think it's best to, to how should I put it? I'm going to use a phrase here, to install positivity. And anytime I use the word install, I'm really talking about installing it at this other than conscious level, subconscious level, right? And that's where tools like NLP and hypnosis become so powerful, because then even if you're making an effort to positively think, it feels aligned with what you truly feel, right? One of the great places to start is gratitude. Let's look at gratitude as an example. It's kind of like a buzzword these days, be grateful, right? There's, if gratitude is just an attitude, it's just a mere cosmetic. I think this is the best metaphor I can use. Oh, I'm grateful. But true gratitude is a state of consciousness in which you celebrate. You celebrate existence. You celebrate life. You celebrate the small, the medium, and the large, or the good, the bad, and the ugly. At some point, we have to stop being surprised and shocked that things didn't go our way. What would happen if we started with the premise that, look, things, they're going to be good things in my life. There are going to be some things that are going to challenge me, that are going to cause some discomfort. I'm not even making this up. This is exactly what I've had to do, what I've wanted to do, what I've been able to master to a certain extent. Acknowledge, believe, accept that certain things will happen. There is no one who's escaping this. So when it comes to gratitude, when you experience it as a state of consciousness, and a small technique that everyone can do right now is to bring to mind one person who nurtured you, who loved you. Bring him to mind, bring him to your consciousness, right? And as you bring them to your consciousness, you may want to close your eyes for that. Truly connect with them. Wait there until you feel the connection. I don't care what's happened in your life, but have you ever been grateful that even though things may not have worked out, that at that point in your life, that person was, provided you with something you needed? How many times have you stopped to feel gratitude for them, and actually wish them well, wish them the best, feel that connection? Imagine if you just brought people like that, those who helped you grow, those who've, been there for you, those who even were part of your life somehow, even though the impact wasn't direct. And when you can feel it in your body, you hold that image there, wait till you feel the connection. The more you do that, the more gratitude sinks into a state of consciousness. I saw this example many, many years ago. I was dropping my son to school, and he was coming out of the car, and he said something very interesting. He was talking about how he will take his kids or grandkids, how kids talk like that, and drop him to school, because I was doing that. And then something came out of his mouth. He was very little, and he said, "Oh, wait, you may not be there then." Mm-hmm. I think I had the most intense moment of my life, and I had so much gratitude for being alive, for existing right at that point. Without gratitude, you'll always feel poor in the midst of plenty. You'll always feel lonely in the midst of company. So I think that's very closely related to positivity. You can have positive thinking, but if you always feel lack, if you always feel not enough, if you always feel, truly feel that there are things not right, and you focus on the things you can control, then it's just a band-aid. It'll get you through some of those moments, but eventually it'll lead you into some sort of cognitive dissonance, inner conflict. Everything around you is confirming to you that things are not right. Does that make sense?
It does, and it feels as though affirmations or even positive thinking can be used as a tool, as one way to, as you say, you want to think positively. It's better than thinking negatively. But if that's the only thing you're doing and it feels false, then there are things going on under the surface, or subconsciously, you might say, that are going to essentially override anything you're saying to yourself at the conscious level.
I think it's looking at one's true beliefs. You got to be super honest with yourself. What do you truly... So I think before, do your positive thinking, but have your good stock of your real beliefs about people, about yourself, and about life and possibilities. What are your truest, deepest beliefs? Once you get them all down on paper, then you ought to decide, if these beliefs remain as they are, will positive thinking help me? I would rather get down and do the deeper work and shift those beliefs, remove the emotional connection. Where did you get that from? Is that serving you? Is that really true? Or is it just been true for you, so you've believed it as the truth? Like you said, we always believe in doing that work at the subconscious level, because beliefs, deep beliefs and values, are stored at the subconscious level.
You've said that, and I think it's a wonderful exercise. I didn't close my eyes, but I was thinking of someone when you said, think of someone that you had a deep connection with and feel gratitude for that connection. Is it possible to do that with yourself? To think of a time in your life when you yourself was grateful for yourself?
I mean, why not? Right? If some people may find it easy, some people may not, but you want to be thankful for yourself from different stages of your life, particularly those times when things look like they were never going to work, and you you did it, right? That also helps you connect with that inner resource that helps you move past this. But I think, everything in life is so interconnected. And what will help people with gratitude? True gratitude, followed by positive thinking. True gratitude, empowering beliefs, then positive thinking on top, which is basically saying things in the way you want them to happen, considering the positive consequence of even a bad situation. Always say that the worst day of your life could be the best day of your life. You give it a new empowering meaning,
Yeah.
right? And then focusing on what's right in any situation. What is this teaching me? Right? What is there to learn? And what else could this mean? These are some great questions to use as part of your positive thinking practice. Let's call it a positive thinking practice, right? But looking at your beliefs, looking at your life history and saying, where could you have taken certain limiting beliefs, limiting decisions about yourself? Where do you still have energy on your past? That cleanup, top with real positive thinking, then top with communication and empathy techniques. So if a person is having a really tough time, rather than just saying, oh, everything will get better, the first part is meeting them where they're at, acknowledging them, that there are things happening that can be heavy, for example. And then and this is why all problems are communication problems. So, we will say, meet people where they are, not where they're not. Take them from where they are. That also is important. Doesn't matter how much of a positive thinker you are when you're dealing with people, because people may not be able to see the positive thing that you're mentioning. It could help, but you got to be able to reframe them, got to be able to redirect their focus to, by asking good questions. This is a formula for not just being a positive thinker, but being a practical, real life person who can deal with any situations, right? Now, here's the other trap with positive thinking. Sometimes positive thinking could make you think you just need to be nice all the time, nice to people, nice to everything. And here, that's where the problem lies. No one can really get through life without having clear boundaries and being able to enforce them. And if you have the identity of a positive thinker, you may see that time when someone is breaching your boundaries to put to inform them of your boundary, to be able to communicate, to be able to uh, you know express what's acceptable. It could be a trap if you think that that's not being positive. No, it's positive. The other thing we say is all behavior has positive intent. Even the person who does the wrong thing, for them it has a positive intent. So what is positive? That's the real question, isn't it?
Yeah.
What is positive?
You mentioned that someone who's maybe practicing positive thinking all the time without doing the inner work can try to create a life in which everything goes positively, which can be
Lead
a
to
trap.
disappointments. Lead to
It
disappointments.
really can. It absolutely can, because it's not going to be that way.
Yeah.
There are going to be some disappointments along the way. I want to talk a little bit about, you've written about this, you've certainly talked about this, significant emotional events that have happened in the past that you carry with you into the present. Positive thinking, or even affirmations, talking, self-talk, that's not really going to address, because it's all happening at a conscious level. What are things that people can do to get down to the subconscious level to really address those events that have happened in the past that are really keeping them from living a more positive life?
Yeah, there's some powerful techniques that at least we use to help people that involve different types of visualizations in order to install that. But at a conscious level, as a minimum, what everybody should do is really look at the major events of their life. Major, let's call them, like you said, significant emotional events, SEEs, and really analyze, what have you taken from that? What belief have you taken from that about yourself? What is it that you're doing in life right now that is related to that? What is it that you're not doing that's related to that? Right? And really, truly, genuinely figuring out the learnings. What is what else could that event mean? What have you learned from it? And how much have you let go? And if you when you think of that event, if you feel negative emotions in your body, then that's an issue, right? That's there where we got to start first. And positive thinking can be really, really powerful when you have a clean system. Right? Imagine being a positive thinker without having forgiven others. Imagine being a positive thinker without, with having energy and emotion on negative emotion on the past. Like, just imagine. Hey, imagine being, you know, only focusing on, what you didn't get in life while you positively think about the future. Imagine not acknowledging who you've become as a result of that, whilst positive thinking.
I would think that would add additional stress to your life, because at the same time that you're thinking all these positive thoughts, you have all of these negative emotions going on at the same time, and now maybe you feel uh, guilty that it's not working for you.
One of the best definitions I've heard about forgiving is for giving up the hope that the past would be any different. What does that actually mean? You can do it consciously. Oh, yeah, I've given up the hope past will be any different. That comes through as disappointment. What if it came out this way? Hey, listen, this thing happened in the past. These are the things that this is what it's allowed me to be able to do. This is how it's made me stronger. And I don't want it to be any different. Because the fabric of who I am, someone else didn't have that experience, and I probably get. Imagine being able to state that like that. Now, positive thinking is a really powerful. And another way of saying positive thinking really is to train your mind to focus more of the time on what you want to create, what your vision is. Unfortunately, for a lot of people, the default thoughts are going back to what you don't want. It's automatically. Think of if you've been asked to speak on the stage, suddenly some person will come up with all sorts of pictures, sounds, and feelings about things going wrong. That's how we've become wired, right through the school system and beyond. Right. So, listen. Having said all of that, I'm a massively positive thinker. I'll give you an example. We ran into some major issues in the business. I've trained my mind enough to still be able to see pictures, sounds, and feelings of things being back on track, right? At the same time, I'm acknowledging the obstacles. I'm reminding myself this is not going to be easy, but it's going to be worth it. I'm going to have to go through some real testing here. I'm going to figure out how to iterate. I'm going to accept the feedback. I'm probably going to have moments where it's going to feel all like too much. I'm just going to have to train myself, prepare myself to handle that. How could you not? Right? How could you not? There's good, bad, and ugly in everything. There's positive and negative in everything. Right? That's the way. There's upside and downside in everything. And I love this line from Buddha. I think everything is temporary.
Yep.
These are the little ideas that have helped someone like myself be able to deal, because I'd be lying if I said I haven't had obstacles, I haven't problems, I've got a lot of tools, and then I got this thinking system that is largely positive but not toxic optimism. Toxic optimism shows up when someone in front of you is really, really going through something. At that present time, they cannot see beyond that, and all you're doing is throwing positive words on them.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a key distinction, is that exactly is what comes across as false.
Yeah.
Is saying things will get better, you'll be okay, and not really seeing where the other person is in that moment.
I mean, the other trap of that is it can blind you to real risks, right? It will, and what that means is it can prevent you from preparing, from setting boundaries, from having a backup plan, because there's nothing to worry about, because you think it's positive, right? So, in a practical sense, if you think of a business owner or a business, they should ideally do what we refer to as risk management planning. Again, focus on what you want, focus on your goals, focus on what's possible, focus on preparing your mindset, your skill set, your action set, your physicality to be able to deal, to prepare yourself for those outcomes. So, that line, expect the worst, but also don't forget to prepare expect the best, sorry. Don't forget to prepare for the things that can go wrong. I don't like the word worst, but things that could generally be a impediment. And now again, that doesn't mean you focus on them. And risk management planning is a really, really powerful thing. I actually got a background in it, and it really helps us. So whenever we launch a new project, a new product, a new mission, along with the project plan, it comes with a risk management plan. What is the item that has a risk? And then come up with a rating system. What is the level that risk is at? You may have a risk. Everyone should have the risk tolerance criteria. This could apply in business or in personal life or in investing. Low, medium, or high. What does each of those labels mean? Then that's how we do it. So we have a risk area. Then we have the risk rating. It's called the inherent risk rating. Means you have no measures or controls to manage that risk. That's the inherent risk. Let's say a risk has a high rating. Then we'll say, what controls do we already have? What measures do we already have? Right? Oh, based on these measures, it's a medium rating. And then as a person or as an organization, if your tolerance is no risk should be higher than low, then you have to have new additional controls, additional steps, so that what we call as the residual risk rating can drop down to low. Or it may be acceptable for you to have a medium risk. It's just got to be managed. I hope you can see this as a metaphor. A business owner, a high performer who does not recognize, we're not asking you to focus on the risk, who doesn't recognize risk can be caught blindsided. Now they don't have any way of managing that risk. All major organizations must have what's called a risk management plan. I know because I've worked in major organizations. I've actually devised them, and it's very, very important. At the same time, that should not take you away from focusing on where you're going. I hope that makes sense. That's a really good metaphor for how to think about positive thinking.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I think, and if you are solely focused on positivity, and as you say, toxic optimism, I think that's a great term to use, then you're just blinding yourself to everything else that's going on in life. And whether that's willfully or not, you are keeping yourself from the full experience of life and from really addressing the core issues that are going on. And so there's going to be a disconnect. And you've said this yourself, there's going to be this disconnect between what you're saying all the time, which things are great, and what's actually going on inside of you.
Yeah, I think the way to present this is generally have a positive outlook. Expect good things to come by. Don't ignore the fact that all good things come with some challenges. You want to go to the gym? It's going to come with you having discipline, routine, nutrition, right? So I think that's the main thing, that, expect positive things. Don't ignore let's put it this way. At the same time, what I want to say is be someone who does enough within yourself through inner work, through different stuff, through life experiences, to not be focused only on the negative. That's another way of putting it. Some people are just, you show them this microphone, that will tell you what's wrong. Like there is an inner program we call as we all have inner programs that develop as a result of a significant emotional events throughout our life. And one of the programs is called matching or mismatching. You see a mismatch, I don't know if you ever known, a person can develop an inner program to always see what's wrong. Number one. Number two, they will always do what you tell them not to do. In other words, these are the people you tell them not to do something, they'll do it. It's a program that can be altered. So, and that's what I'm trying to get to. Like, don't be, work on making sure that your inner world is resolved enough, your self story is resolved enough, your ideas about life, yourself, others, and possibilities are resolved enough that you don't get stuck on the alternative, which is complete negativity. That's a worse outcome than toxic positivity, even.
Yeah.
Or optimism.
Yeah, you've worked with thousands of people. Um, I imagine that you've worked with numerous people who have come to you and they've tried positive thinking and it just hasn't worked. Can you talk about maybe one or two of the clients who have come through who have tried positive thinking, it didn't work, and then you were able to help them break through to deeper work?
With a lot of our students, one thing I've noticed in common, when they have done the work, when they have resolved the past, when they have addressed the SEEs, the significant emotional events, when they've installed new beliefs, replacing the old limiting decisions, what I've found, and this is across the board, people are generally handling obstacles a lot better. They're not running for the hills. I get that feedback all the time. In fact, I got something just the other day saying, if it was, in fact, I'm going to read this here. It actually came from a student. I'll pull this up. And I want to see if I can read their wording. I have become a master of state management. The things like unexpected problems which would have caused me to shout and be at negative effect in the past are now just things that I observe. And if I feel negative emotions, I notice and reframe them. This has just come through 2 days ago from one of our highest level students, who's going through a divorce matter, who is, had a history of, feeling let down and so forth. And I get this over and over again. And this is not just happening at a conscious level. A lot of my students are saying bad things happen, but they're saying they're become more the observer. They're becoming more objective. They're looking at it and saying, what else could this mean? And these sort of people will do very well in life. Those are some of the examples. And now, in the odd case where someone has, it's never been the case of, oh, Reg, I cannot positively think. It's just that these people, their environments have attempted to pull them back. You do this great work, but you go back home and someone tells you you're a piece of shit and everything is going down. You see, these things, when you're surrounded by it, eventually you can go back to the old. That's sort of more of what we've seen. The other example we've seen is someone who's, no matter how much work they did, they got great results, but they had to find one thing that didn't go right to then cling to that. And that's through their life's patterns. And there's a lot of other reasons why that happens. Not only people's history, it's a protection mechanism. People have been hurt a lot of times. And if they don't genuinely do the work, don't do it with full self-honesty, then that's their way. Attacking is often a form of self-defense. Attacking is often a way of self-preservation. It's a way of protection for a lot of people. I've seen a couple of examples like that, but largely I'm finding that the work we do is so intense. For you to spend a good amount of money, good amount of time, and walk out and say, I'm going to cling to my negative life, my negative behaviors. What's wrong with the world? What's wrong with me? Well, that's a choice.
If there are people listening here today and they want to be more positive, they want to be upbeat, but they feel stuck, what's something that they can do today?
In general, state management is important. Don't ask if you're in a negative, if you're feeling something negative, all that means is you're in a negative state. Firstly, do something to change the state. Change your physiology, go for a walk, go for a run, go for an exercise, play on some good music. You've got to for a lot of people, they're still at effect. Things just happen to them. Like reaction rather than response. There is a point where everybody needs to get to respond. This is happening to me. I'm in a negative state. I am feeling anger. You're not angry. You're who you are, your name. You're experiencing anger. That means you're in a negative state. Change something. Go for a walk. Do breathing. Go and put something on that diverts your focus. We got to be There's a point in life we must become responsible for our focus. What picture, sounds, and feelings are we running? right? Walking away from the situation temporarily, going for a drive, all these things can help people. First, it's about state management. Are you in control of your state, or things just happen to you? Number two, what is happening in your environment? What are you exposed to more of the time? What do you read? What do you see? Are you just on social media not knowing what could come up and suddenly change your state? There's no control over that. There is no intentional. Who are you following? Have you decided who I'm going to follow so only their posts come up? I mean, these are decisions people are not taking while information is coming from everywhere. We don't even know what. I don't want to go on social media. If anything can just pop in on my screen, anything. There is no idea what could happen and could change how I'm thinking at that point. So it's about being responsible for your state, your environment, your people. What do you watch? Even watching certain things on TV and movies and things like that, you may think it's entertainment, but it's actually quietly installing fears, installing ideas, changing how you feel about things, how you think about things. I'll give you a small example. Horror movies may be very interesting, give you a thrill. But watching horror movies over a period of time, installs fears, irrational fears in your actual life. I'm not talking just about ghosts or murderers, just walking down the street. Because it leads to skepticism, pessimism. It leads to fear. So at some point, determining what you will allow to go into your mind or not is the best move one can make in order to stay in control of what's in front of you. I think that's the real thing. The issue is less about whether it's positive or negative. The real issue is how much responsibility have you taken for your universe?
I think that's a good place to stop for today. That's powerful, Reg. I want to thank you for your insights here. If someone's listening today and they've tried positive thinking, they've tried affirmations, maybe journaling, and they're not getting the results they're looking for, what should they do next?
Like I said, look for positive stories, whether it's books, videos, people. Be in environments where people are not necessarily just positive at the exclusion of everything else, but they are focused on something that is good for them, that is going to make them better. The next thing, of course, listen to this podcast. Listen to all the episodes, every single one of them, and make some changes in your life. You're not a tree. You can start making changes. If things have been a certain way for a long time, changes must be initiated. The universe responds in accordance to the level of change you initiate.
I want to thank you, Reg, for joining us, and thank you for listening. If you are here with us today, as Reg said, we have many, many episodes of this podcast. Check them out, and we will see you again next time.
Thank you, Jim. Thank you for listening to the Neuro Masters show. I'm Reg Malhotra, reminding you that your trauma is seen, your transformation is possible, and your breakthrough is right around the corner. If you found today's episode valuable, you can visit our website for many more resources, to register for a live breakthrough experience, and to continue your journey of reclaiming your full self.